episode of Diary of a Real Girl. So today, the next woman we're going to focus on is Deborah, my namesake. Yeah, but Amy. She was the only female judge in the Bible. And guess what? She called a whole nation of Israel out of a place of oppression. Woman, this is part of your purpose. You are meant to call the nation of Barbados, or whichever nation you're from or watching this from, you are meant to call that nation out of a place of oppression. I mean, if you think about the times that we're living in right now, there is so much oppression in the earth. There is so much fear going on because of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. You know, there is so much trepidation as it relates to our unstable governments or unstable economies in this time. You know, nothing seems secure. Nothing seems as though it is going to work. But guess what? God is saying to you in this time, woman, you are going to be the source of lifting this oppression. Why? Because we are the place of birthing. We are the place of encouragement. We are the place of getting those people into position, whether it is through prayer, whether it is that we are the ones who will inspire our men to get into position, because that's what Deborah did. She called Barak and she called him up into a place of position. Was he the final place or the entire solution for Israel in that time? No, he was not. It was dependent on another girl. But you know what? She set things in motion. Deborah set things in motion. And, you know, she was the one who said to Barak, wait, my man, God didn't call you. Is why you still sitting down here? Is why you're not moving and going and do what you have to do? Huh? How many times we have to be that in our men's life? We have to be the ones that say, you know, but God didn't tell you to do so and so, but you know, you already know that you're supposed to do this. Why you don't just get up and move? We are the motivators. We are the ones who get things moving. Yes. And if you are not doing that in your family, whether you have is a husband or a partner, or whether it is your son, you are supposed to be calling men into position. That is part of your purpose, you know. And out of getting our men into place, many of our men are not in place. Many of our men, you know, have been, for lack of a better word, destroyed. And a lot of the times by us as women, you know. So many women have been out there saying, you know, men is dogs, and, you know, there's this whole movement that is against men. And sad to say, much of the problems or issues that we are having with our men has started with our women. One, first of all, we cannot be fathers to our sons. That was one of the first issues that we had. Many of us, you know, on Father's Day, we acknowledging ourselves as our children or our children's fathers. I ain't a body father. I is a woman. I is my son mother. Sorry for the little bit, John. But the reality is, I have said to God, you need to send me a proper man in my life who can be a father to my son, because I cannot be a father to my son. I don't pretend. I am a woman. I don't know nothing about being a man. I know about being a woman. And the reality is, we have had too many women who have tried to take up the place as father in their sons' lives. And so we got a little men that, you know, kind of little wishy-washy, kind of little, some of them a little too much on the feminine side, or they just don't know how to be men. You know, we as women have got to understand that when we are raising men, you know, we raise them from the point of view that we are your mothers and we are going to do what we need to do for you as your mother. But ask God for, even if you don't get a husband, a father figure, a male, because there is a serious issue, especially in our island, with fatherlessness. We have got to expose fatherlessness. And we need to raise our boys to be strong men, to know how to treat us as women. You know what I mean? And I see it as not a failure, but a misstep as it relates to us as women. And so we have to recognize our place in restoring this in our children's lives. And me with boys, as I said, I didn't pray to be my son's father. I pray for him to have a father figure, someone who can be a strong father figure for him, because I understood my place as a woman. And that is so important for us, understanding our place as women. And so, as I said about Deborah, she called Barak into place. Look, my man, you need to get into place and do what you're supposed to do. And that's part of our purpose as women. We are meant to be helpmeet. God established that from the beginning. Look, I call you out to be a helpmeet. I've called you out to make sure that this man do what he's supposed to do. I mean, Eve, she went on a little bit on the wayward side, but that might be because Adam didn't really fully do what he was supposed to do. He didn't really communicate what God communicated to him properly. But anyway, that's other conversation for other time. But we as women are supposed to call our men into position. And what calling Barak into position did for the nation of Israel was set a whole entire nation free from oppression. Yes, it didn't come initially through Barak, but it was that initial move from Deborah that really restored Israel in that time. And when we call our men into position and we break the oppression of our nation, we are going to see so much change in what's happening around us in our nation. It's so important that we understand that we are the place of birthing. God created us for that purpose. God created us for the purpose of bringing something into the earth. As we said in our book review, that women are a gateway to the earth. The only way that a man could get here, the only way that Jesus could get here to save the entire nation, to save the entire world, was through a woman. He had to be born of a woman. And that's what it says even when he was talking to Nicodemus. In order to be legitimate here on earth, you have to be born of a woman and of the water. Anyway, so understanding our value as women in our men's life is so important. And I think that was one of the most valuable lessons for me about Deborah's life. She called Barak into position. I mean, when God showed me this, I was like, whoa, I am supposed to call my son into position. I mean, I was freaking out. At that time, I ran to my mother, Mommy, you understand? You understand? I thought it was the greatest revelation that I had received. Understanding my purpose in my son's life. Understanding my purpose in my husband's life. That we can't say that we want husbands and then we want to take up their position. We have got to allow our husbands to be who they are meant to be in the earth. You know what I mean? Many times we have big issues with submission. What to me about Deborah is that she was a married woman. When I go over the story, and she was a wealthy woman and she was also a married woman. And it says something to me that she had this great position. She was judge, she was sitting and she was judging Israel from her place under the palm trees. And yet she was also going home at the end of the day and she was becoming a wife. And it says to me, and it didn't say that they didn't have, it didn't say anything about their relationship. But from what I gather, it would have had to be a relationship where she understood her place as a wife. And many of us struggle with the idea of submission because most of the time we confuse submission with subservience. Is God saying to you to be subservient as though you are not equal to men? No, not in any way. He's not asking you to be subservient, but he is asking you to be in a place of submission where you understand and respect the man's position and place. God set up an order. He set up an order for how we are supposed to function in families. He said the head of Christ is God, the head of the man is Christ, and the head of the woman is man. And so if we understand the responsibility that God has placed on men, that he must be in a place where he is hearing from God. Has to be in a place where he is subject to the teaching and the understanding of Christ. If we understand that, one, I feel like we will choose men a lot differently. Two, we will understand our place of submission because of the responsibility of having to be subject to Christ in order to lead and be able to be the foundation for the family. So, as I said, submission is not a place of subservience. It's a place of understanding the responsibility that God has given to men to be fathers, to be our husbands, And I remember Sinclair from Healthy Cottage taught me something, was that if we as women were not valuable, God would never put us in a place where the man needed to protect us. God instructed the man, protect this woman, guard her like your own body, make sure that you're taking care of her. Why? Because we are valuable. We are valuable in this entire equation. God gave us to men. God didn't give men to women. God gave women to men. And he understood the value of who we are and that we were a treasure and that we needed to be taken care of and provided for. So if we understand this and we understand, the responsibility that God has placed on men, we understand our place of submission to our men. Thank you again for watching. I hope that you will follow along, like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. Don't miss a beat. Continue with us in the journey of Diary of a Real Girl.